Yolanda, one of the important themes that you brought out in the Yale Divinity School summer term on urban youth ministry was how one can employ creativity in spiritual practices. And we know in youth ministry, kids come in with just bubbling potential to engage the creative, but how does one show them that that can be done in the context of their spiritual practices?
There are several ways that we can do it, and there's a precedence for it. You know, if we look in the Bible, you know, we understand that storytelling is a very, very big part of what we read in the Old Testament and what we read in the New Testament. Storytelling is a big part of our faith tradition. We share the stories of faith and of the community of faith, and then our own personal stories. So one way that we can engage young people in creativity as a way of engaging their spiritual disciplines is to invite them to share their stories. One way that we can do that is to have an evening of story time with a particular theme. We can invite maybe, say, 6 young people to share specific stories, and then at each one of the tables or each of the groups, maybe have them broken up into groups, have a basket in the center of the group that students can pull from to prompt them in terms of sharing a different type of story. So I call this, and I'm really kind of drawing from Mercy Amba Odeyoye, who in her book, Daughters of Anoa, talks about the way she organized the book around 3 interlocking cycles of storytelling. And so I like to view it as 3 intertwining cycles of storytelling. So you could have 2 storytellers first, and then invite the groups to either reflect on the stories that have been told or to pull from the bowl and to share their stories. And then you go back to the next 2, and then the larger conversation, and then the last 2, and then the larger conversation, and then open it up for the entire community. That's one way of engaging stories. Another way is the similar kind of format, where we invite the 3 cycles of interlocking storytelling. But rather than just simply telling the stories, maybe we can invite them to act out their stories, or to come up with a theme, and the entire group acts out a story around that theme. And we could make prompts or questions as a way of doing that. When I think of engaging spiritual practices again through creativity, another idea that comes to mind is based on another experience that I've had in my classes at Yale Divinity School, where we had a young lady come in. Her name was Grace Yun, and her colleague Tricia, who came in, and they led us in building a quilt around the theme of peace. So if I'm doing a lesson on peace, and we're talking about how can we bring about our individual selves, how can we as a congregation or as a community of young people bring about peace in our communities, use this as a way to engage the conversation. So everyone would get a square, and everyone would get to draw whatever it is or write whatever that is that they want to do, and then we put them all together, and at the end of our time together we have either a large quilt or a banner that reflects everyone's idea of peace. And now that becomes a place where we can talk about each one of the different contributions. That's another idea that we can use to engage storytelling, the visual arts, crafting. Those are all different artistic, creative things that we can do to engage the spiritual disciplines.